Hey guys, I'm excited to have, this is our third video, or technically fourth since last night was 2. This will be a shorter video than last night, I promise. So go ahead and title your notes, 1.3 Transformations of Functions Day 1. Today we're going to be mainly talking about the rules of transformations. You must have these memorized. Your assignment tomorrow during class will have you just practicing all the different transformations, so ideally you'll have these memorized by the end of class tomorrow. So if you'd start memorizing this as you're writing them down, that'd be awesome, because we'll be using this non-stop. And you're not going to be able to use a calculator on your quiz or test for a while, and you have to have these memorized. Okay. So, graphing transformations of functions. There are only 4 transformations. You will see, we're going to talk about each one individually. The first one, y equals a of f of x. Okay? Hopefully you'll have heard this before, but whatever's inside the parentheses, that's called the argument. Okay? Argument is like your independent variable. Okay? Notice, our constant is outside the argument. When it is outside the argument, it affects your range or your y values. Okay, so this example affects our range. So, this graph is stretched. That should be an S. It doesn't look like one. Hold on one second. It is stretched or compressed vertically. Vertically, hence, is my y values. So stretched I feel like I'm getting better at this. Maybe I talked too soon. Okay, if it's stretched, your A is going to be greater than 1. If it's compressed, your A is going to be in between 0 and 1. Now, hopefully you remember this from algebra too, but if it has a negative, that means it's reflecting. It would be reflecting vertically. So, A is on the outside. It is stretched or compressed vertically. By a factor of 1, or of A. Now, I know y'all are probably like, well, duh. Of course it's being stretched by a factor of A, but you'll see on the next example why it doesn't necessarily mean that. I want to fix this E because that's annoying me. There you go. Vertically by A. Which means when you guys get a problem, you would take your parent function, which hopefully you'll start having your parent functions memorized, and you would multiply your y values of your parent function by A. Okay? Now, the second equation, you're going to see what's the difference, okay? On the first one, A is outside the argument. It affects my y's. Therefore, you know what I need to do? I need to change this to B. That is completely, change yours to B as well. So it should be A, B, and guess what the bottom one should be? D. So that's a B. Sorry, make sure you change your paper. And this bottom one needs to be a D. because we're going to assign and talk more about those things tomorrow. So make sure you change your notes. My bad. Okay, let me fix that. Okay. All right. Fix the X. Okay, so again, the B is on the inside of my argument, so it affects my X values. So I'm just going to do my little, so I don't have to write it again, so don't waste y'all's time. Okay, so it stretches and compresses horizontally. And this is where it's different, and this is where students miss all the time. It is not by a factor of B. It is actually a factor of 1 over B. Okay? So that means that you are going to take, if you had this as a problem, you would take your parent function, X values, and you'd multiply by 1 over B. And I would write that down because that is that says horizontally. Doesn't look like it, but it does. By 1 over B. Okay? So, let's go back. Let's recap. When it's outside the argument, you multiply your y values by a. When it's inside the argument, you multiply your x values by 1 over that number. Just like if it was a negative b, it would reflect it horizontally. So if we took this negative, the negative square root function, it looks like a sideways half parabola. It would not be going into the first quadrant, it would actually be going into the second quadrant. For my third one, it's outside the argument, so hopefully you would see that it's outside the argument. It's plus or minus C. It's just like kind of like a being translated vertically by C units. So plus C, you'd go up by C units. I'm going to do arrows. You move the graph up C units. That's an N. And if it's minus C, obviously you'd go down C units. What else do you need? Now, again, you're probably thinking, well, that's pretty obvious, but on the bottom one, you're going to see why it's not. So you're going to go down C units. Okay? It's a lot like your y-intercept when you're talking about a linear equation. All right, the bottom equation. You got you got y equals f of x plus or minus d. Okay? So this shifts your graph horizontally. Just like the second equation, where it's opposite of what you expect, if it's plus d on the inside of the argument, you go to the left, the little bitty d, you're going to go to the left, d units. Okay, and I will put tricky problems like this on your quiz, so you need to make sure you have that memorized. And if it's minus D, you're going to go to the right D units. Okay? This is your notes for today. Make sure you have this clearly written in your assignment notebook, and we'll have some practice problems for you to work on tomorrow in class. Thanks.